there's only so long you can do that as a human being, like I feel like I was suppressing myself and I was trapped, constantly feeling trapped and being in a cage because I couldn't be me.
Hi everyone, it's time for more Pride Talk. Welcome to our new subscribers. For those that may be new to us, Pride Talk is a podcast presented by Nat Pride. You know, being LGBTQ plus and Asian American, our stories tend to get lost or not told at all. With Pride Talk, we are taking up space by featuring in-depth conversations with Asian American LGBTQ plus professionals and our allies. Today, we continue our very personal conversation with Dr. Kim Liu. I'm sure you all are wanting to hear more of her inspiring and funny story. I'm your host, John Ong, and with me is my friend and co-host, David Moore. Hi, David.
Hi, John. So what an amazing journey we have been on this season with Dr. Liu. I so appreciate her willingness to open up and really share her story with us. And from some of the comments I've seen, I believe it's resonating with our listeners. And we are so grateful for our corporate sponsor, Molson Coors. Because of their generous support, we are able to bring you this series of insightful, funny, and authentic discussions with folks from our tribe, Asian Americans within the LGBTQ plus community, and our allies. So, let's get back to Dr. Liu and her fascinating story. In this episode, Kim shares more about her coming out to her father. Although he was loving and accepting of the news, he had his own internal struggles and preconceived ideas of family and gender roles. We continue the conversation of coming out and the importance of being true to oneself and to always come from a place of love. And be sure to hang around for the end of this episode, and we have an exciting announcement about our guest for Season 3 of Pride Talk.
And I'm still trying to figure out how to share with him that I'm comfortable and he's comfortable too. Because a couple of years ago, I took my ex-partner to Taiwan to meet my family, my dad and my, all the extended family. And I was a little bit worried about how they will react. I mean, my extended family, they have no clue. Even though I say, oh, this is my partner, and they're like, oh, cool. And, very welcoming. And then they ask about my ex-husband, like, great. I don't think they're getting this at all. And there's even though because in Chinese, if you say girlfriend, you say 女朋友, that could be also like female friend,
Yeah.
And so and even if I say partner can be so many different things. And so they thought, oh, she's your business partner, your best friend. They're not thinking about, oh, she's your girlfriend or your life partner or something like that. So they're like not getting it. And so I'm like, okay, I give up. But as long as my dad knows, it's fine. But I think my dad didn't know how to react to it. He was very kind and welcoming.
Yeah.
But for him, it was a shock to see me with a woman, and it's a different interaction because I don't see him very often. And I don't know, perhaps he was still hoping maybe I would be with a man or something, because he made a comment one time. He said, if you get married, marry a man that's older and has money and can take care of you. And then like that, I have a partner. He's like, oh, I know you're going to be with your partner forever. But, if you marry it again, marry a man that has money and older. I'm like, are you saying I should get a sugar daddy? And I'm like, I don't understand. Like comments like this, I'm like, I don't think he gets it.
I think also like the parents need to go through their own coming out process as well, right? They need to learn and they need to figure out how they want to how to interact with this new reality too, and they need to figure out. And they grew up in their whole lives having that black and white male married female culture, and it's difficult for them to just switch, right?
Yes. And I think that he's still trying to grasp the concept that I'm not with a man anymore. And because he's, in a way, he's a very traditional man. He thinks, he worries, out of all my siblings, he worries about me because he thinks that because I'm not married to a man, no one can take care of me. Something happens. In his mind, I guess it's hard for him to think of a woman being able to take care of me,
right.
That's a very Chinese mentality, And I think that's where he was coming from. If I married to marry someone that can provide for me
Right.
and I can still be with my partner. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't understand that.
And then
But
it could be through your interaction. If you have moments that you are interacting, and that would be something that you would share and say, even though the gender is different, I have somebody to take care of me. I have somebody who I
yeah,
truly love.
exactly. And that's what I'm trying to explain to him. But for him, it's like, yeah, he's still struggling with that idea. So,
Yeah.
hopefully eventually with time I can show him, things are fine. Um, the funny story with my mom, so she went from wanting to get a Chinese medicine to fix my gayness, right?
Yeah.
To becoming a sexologist because she wanted to know why I became
Oh.
gay. So she became a sexologist and a sex therapist and trying to understand human sexuality to
Oh
know
my
why her
gosh.
child came out
Oh
gay.
my gosh. Your mom's thinking, I can totally see her. She's just like very uh very scientist thinking. I was like,
She's a
how
very
do you find this
intellectual
so
type of
yeah,
person.
intellect,
Yes.
yes. She's just like, let me study about
Yes, there's a
this.
problem and
Yeah.
we're going to solve it.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. That was her way of solving the problem. So now she will ask me all these kind of questions. That's hilarious. Because once she started taking her classes, she's like, okay, so are you the man or the woman? I'm like, Mom, it doesn't work like that. She's like, but I want to know. I'm like, okay, Mom, there's no like man or woman. Okay. We're both
Yeah.
women.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, and that's a very common thing too, right? People
Yeah.
still want to base of like a gay relationship
Hmm.
with the model of a heterosexual relationship too.
Yes, yes, and that's her reality. That is,
Yeah.
male and female, and she doesn't understand female, and then she wanted to know details, and she wanted to know, okay, I'm a scientist now, and so I'm asking you not as your mother. She said, I'm asking you as a
As a
professional, as a
scientist.
sex therapist.
A nosy
How does it
scientist.
work? I know. How does it work to have sex between women? I'm like, Mom, I'm not going down that road with you. You want information? I'm gonna send you a couple links and you can read up on
Yeah.
that. I'm not gonna tell you about my sexual life. But she's like, I'm a scientist. I'm like, it's fine, Mom, but there are boundaries. I'm not going to talk about that
Right.
with you right now.
Right.
How is your relationship with your mom right now?
It's a little bit tricky. She like I have to work a lot
Mhm.
to understand where she's coming from
Mhm.
because for years I thought she doesn't love me. For years I thought she doesn't accept me, and for years I thought I'm never good enough.
Mhm.
And for her, from where she was coming from, it was she believes in tough love. She doesn't believe in cuddling. She doesn't believe in sweet words. She feels that if she uses sweet words, then I'm gonna become
Make
soft
you
and not be
weak.
prepared
Yeah.
for the world.
Right.
So she's very like that, and she used to be military. She comes from military family. So I think it's very that's how they are,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I'm still coming to terms with that. That a lot of time what she says doesn't mean what she says.
Yeah.
There's like a different meaning behind it,
Yeah.
and that a lot of time I have to remind myself it comes from love. But it's very hard of years of fighting with her, years of feeling that she's against me, years of feeling I'm not good enough,
Mhm.
and she's working on it too. She has talked to me and said, I have changed. I'm not the person you remember. I was afraid for you, but you're fine now and you're doing good. So we're trying to repair our relationship, but it's rough because sometimes little things become triggers, and both of us get triggered.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a
I can
process.
see the two of you very similar too. Just from
Yeah, definitely.
like the there's so many things that's similar with you and your mom. I think that is how it sometimes could be uh tension filled because you're
Yeah,
so similar, right? The
yeah,
way we
yeah,
deal with
and I
things.
think that's why she was so scared for me because she saw herself in me,
Yeah.
and she was afraid that I would go through the suffering that she went through as being different, as
Yeah.
being not being accepted, and all these different things, and she wanted me to have a better life.
Yeah.
And her way of doing it was to show me how bad or how rough the world can be and prepare me for it at home so that when I experience it in the world, it's not so bad. That's her way of showing love. And me as a child, I didn't understand that. I'm thinking, why my friend's mom are so nice and loving, and you're so mean to me? I
Yeah.
didn't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of Asian friends, so I couldn't compare to know that, Asian parents are like that too.
Right.
So I
Right.
didn't know that. Because Hispanics parents are a bit different, and they're more physical touch and
Yeah.
affectionate and that sort of thing. And I didn't have that growing up.
Right.
But yeah, I realized the older I get, how similar in personality my mom and I are.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to learn from it, trying to learn from her mistakes, so that I don't do the same things, and also learn and accept that she's human too. Because as a child, you have an idea of what a parent should be or what a parent is, and I had her so up here, in the high pedestal, and thinking that she should be perfect, and I forget
Yeah.
she was young. I mean, when she became my mother, she was 27.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if what was I doing at 27? I don't think I could have been what she did, and I didn't think on those terms that my mother she's human, and she was young and she was inexperienced, and she learned along the way, and she didn't have a good role model, and her life was rough. So she did the best that she could under the circumstances that she had. And so that has been a healing process for both of us,
Yeah. Yeah. And
and so we're trying to repair that. Yes.
when you are now that you've gone through it, that's why I love asking personal stories like that. Is you can never
Mm,
like Kim, we've known each other for several months. Before
yes.
this conversation, I would not have guessed, would not have known what that process of coming out and the complexity of the relationships that you've had.
Yes.
But it's also very crucial now after going through all that. What would you say as Kim today, how crucial it is to be able to be out as yourself? You
For me,
Yeah.
is a core, a very important part of myself to be out. I know it was very rough and how long drawn out the whole process was for me, but I'm so happy I did it. I think that if I have if I have not come out, I would not be here today, just because of how sick I was, and how part of me, I was so angry at myself, and I didn't know that. I was so angry about all the choices that I made in my life were based on other people, or what I thought other people expected of me, and not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my sister recently about, like, the biggest challenge for me now is to forgive myself, because
Mm.
I I was so mad at me for not being authentic, for not being true to myself, for not voicing myself, expressing myself. And this is one of the reasons why I'm part of Nat Pride, why I'm part of the local chapter of the LGBT community in my association. Like, I want people to I want people to be true to themselves and learn from our experiences, to know that yes, it's painful, but the otherwise it could be worse.
Mm-hmm.
So many people having to hide and pretend and be in the closet. I mean, a lot of people end up hating themselves. There's suicide rate is so high in our community because of this,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not able to voice, we're not able to express, we're not able to be authentic. And there's only so long you can do that as a
Yeah.
human being. Like, it feels like I felt like I was in a cage. I felt like I was suppressing myself, and I was trapped,
Mm-hmm.
constantly feeling trapped and being in a cage, because I couldn't be me in so many senses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think coming out is so important for me as a person, for my physical well-being, for my mental well-being, for my spiritual well-being. I had to be true to myself and be out, and regardless of how long the process, how painful. And I hurt people in the process, not because I wanted to, but it's just because I was not authentic. You see,
Yeah.
me not being authentic to myself, I wasn't not only hurting myself, but hurting those around me.
Yeah.
I denied my dad of a relationship, a good relationship with him, for years, because I was not authentic. I hurt my ex-husband for years because I was not authentic, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I think being out is so important for me as a person.
How are the people around you, other than the ones that's crucial, like your father, your mother? How the people reacted to your coming out? Your starts with your siblings and then people around you.
So I was surprised at how welcoming people were. Um, you know, from the moment that I started dating my ex partner, and that's when I accepted, I'm going to be out and coming out to my friends and even to a lot of my friends that were, religious. I was surprised at how loving and welcoming they are. And even people that in the past had made comments. I had a roommate from college that she used to be so against LGBT people and saying that something's wrong with them, and or another friend that made comments about her brother's ex-wife being gay, and how, like, she's worried about her niece because who knows if they're pedophile, like comments like this that
Mm-hmm.
people made throughout the years. And those people that I was afraid to coming out to them, they were actually very welcoming, and they're like, oh, okay, we love you. And that was surprising because I thought, okay, I'm going to lose some people in my life because of how they have acted, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps they didn't know what they were saying and how much impact their words had on me, growing up or throughout the years interacting with them. But I'm really surprised that when you come from a place of love, which is what I did, when I came out to different people, I would mentally prepare myself and say, okay, I am going to be authentic, and I'm going to open my heart and my mind and share who I am as a person and see what would happen, because I was so tired of hiding and pretending. And every person I came out to throughout the last 3-4 years, they have been very loving. And even a friend of mine that came this weekend, and I told him that I'm with a woman now, and he was slightly shocked, but he's like, oh, that's great, I'm really happy for you. And he wants to meet the person. And so that was surprising. Actually, my friend is my first boyfriend's brother, and he was very okay about the whole thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay. A lot of time I think we think things are worse than what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are courageous and come from a place of love and authenticity, I think it wouldn't be as bad. At least in my experience. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
other people is different, but in my experience, everybody has been very loving and welcoming. So that has been really great.
That's good. Family in Taiwan.
Yeah, most of my family is in Taiwan. I have a sister here.
And
Um,
how's their reaction and family in Taiwan?
um,
Or it's too
my
far enough to too far for you to be concerned about that.
probably,
Yeah, because you don't
probably.
go back often, and so
Yeah, I don't come back very often. I think my extended family, I don't think they understand what's going on.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need
But
to. Yeah.
I had a talk to my grandma
Mm-hmm.
this summer,
Mm-hmm.
and because a lot of people in my family don't know I'm divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma, she's 83 years old, pretty badass. She has Facebooks. I mean, she was playing archery with us, which was amazing. My dad and I were playing archery. She's like, "What are you guys doing? I want to do it too." And she started playing archery with us, and she's 83.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was amazing. But it was funny because my grandma has Facebook, and I didn't. Like, I remember her having Facebook and adding me a couple years ago. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, sure, I don't think she knows how to use it.
Yeah.
So apparently she's been checking my Facebook. And so
Oh, good for her.
I know. And so she asked me this summer when, we sat down and we're talking. And my grandma asked, and she said, so Kim, how are things with your husband? And I'm like, oh, well, okay. I'm like, they're okay. And she said, where is he now? I'm like, well, he's in Utah. And he's like, okay, I don't see a lot of pictures of you guys together. And I'm like, okay. He said, it's been a while since I seen picture of the two of you. I'm like, yes, grandma. She's like, are you guys not together anymore? And I said, yes, grandma, we're not together. And she's like, uh-huh. Are you guys divorced? I said, yes, grandma, I'm divorced. And I'm thinking, like, here she's going to say something. She's like, I think it's better for you to be divorced if you're not happy. It's
Oh.
better for you to find out now and not like your dad 30 years later. So I was like, okay. So that was her way of saying, that it's
Yeah, it's
okay,
okay. Yeah.
to be divorced and not be with a man. And then she met my ex-partner. And so she said, so that friend you brought last time? I said, yes, Grandma. So were you guys together? I'm like, yes. She's like, okay. Are you dating somebody else? I'm like, yes. She's like, is that the person you're on the phone every morning? I'm like, Grandma.
Wow.
Yes, Grandma. He's like, okay, all right, as long as you're happy. I'm like, okay, Grandma. So I think she's like coming to terms, she's not saying like, she just
Yeah.
calls it like your new friend,
Yeah.
but she doesn't say things like girlfriend or partner or whatnot. So I guess she's coming around, but other family members, I don't think they understand because they keep asking about my ex-husband and I don't even know how to tell them. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's fine. I don't see them that often.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with that. But I don't know. I guess eventually, I mean, it's not like I hid it. I brought my ex-partner home and
Yeah.
introduced her to everybody. They just refuse to understand.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
sometimes short interaction in a family reunion, there's not enough time to go through all that too.
exactly.
You feel
There's
like you don't need
not.
to explain.
Yeah,
Came out.
and it was like the moon festival. Everybody's
Ah,
eating and talking, and
yeah.
and it's a big family. Big family, 5 generations, everybody together. There's no way to talk about these kind of things. I'm like,
Right,
it's
right.
fine. I see them once every few years. It's okay.
Yeah.
If they have a question, they can ask me later.
Now that is a badass grandma. But honestly, grandmas always know. You can't hide anything from them.
Especially if they're checking out your Facebook. They can read between the lines. I do love how Dr. Lou's grandma put all the pieces together, not so much by what was said, but what was missing from the photos, and then in the end, after all the questions, Grandma just said, okay, as long as you are happy. And really, isn't that what we all want from our friends and family? Please share your comments with us about our conversation with Dr. Lou. You can email us at pridetalk@nap.org. That's pridetalk@naaap.org. You can even call us and leave us a voice comment. Our number is 4197-PRIDE5. That's 4197-PRIDE5. And of course, you can find all this information in the show notes as well as our website, pride.nap.org. That's pride.naaap.org.
Shout out to NAP, the National Association of Asian American Professionals, which is a nonprofit organization that cultivates and empowers Asian and Pacific Islander leaders through leadership development, professional networking, and community service. Find out more at nap.org. That's naaap.org. Of course, we also want to thank our corporate sponsor, Molson Coors, for their continued support of NAP Pride and this podcast, and for the commitment to fostering open and inclusive workplaces where all employees are valued, engaged, and inspired to be the best they can be.
Please join us for our next episode as we close out this insightful series of conversations with Dr. Kim Lou. In the final episode of our time with Kim, she discusses being out at work, gaining the trust of her patients, using personal pronouns, and the importance of allies to the LGBTQ+ community. We end our time with a fun, lightning round of questions. Join us next time as we close out this very personal conversation with Dr. Kim Lou, and as promised, we have an exciting announcement about Season 3. John, would you like to share the news with our listeners?
Yes, we are thrilled to announce that our guest for Season 3 is the one, the only, Kelly Leong, star of Broadway's Allegiance and Aladdin, as well as TV's Glee. More info to come, but you might want to subscribe now so that you don't miss any of our conversations with this amazingly talented Kelly Leong. Oh, I can't wait to share our conversation with you. But until then, remember this, representation matters. So be seen, be heard, be loud, and be proud. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye! The opinions expressed on Pride Talk are solely those of the host and guests and do not represent the views or opinions of our individual employers, NAP, or our sponsors.